All right, hello and welcome to Stampscapes Friday Night Live. I feel like I haven't stamped in a long time, and a week is pretty long for me, but we need to make some time for stamping. I've been working on new designs, and that takes up a lot of time, and when you get on a roll, you gotta just keep doing the same type of thing. But anyways, one of the things I was looking at just, I don't know, half hour ago was a scene done by in a live stream workshop by one of my students in there, and I really liked some of the residual patterning of this type of paper right here. Okay, so this is the printable holographic vinyl sticker paper. Okay, and you can see those. It's I don't know how I'd describe this, and it's almost like little sequins or something like that. Not really so much glitter, but I don't. Yeah, I guess sequins or something like that. It looks real kind of digital in a way. Hello, Debbie. How are you this afternoon, this evening, or whatever time it is for you? Good to see you. But anyways, I liked how I usually block off anything that I'm stamping over the top of this so that I don't have this type of patterning showing through imagery. But in my workshop, one of my students they didn't lay down as much white ink as I did. So some of the patterning showed through, the different images. I'm going to use some art Foamies stamps on this just to make this scene go nice and fast, or faster, the compositional part of it. And I liked how this type of patterning showed through the imagery, because I thought it looked like somewhat like a lens flare effect in a camera or something like that. Hello, Crimson Rose. So I'm going to try that. Okay, so I'm going to be going against kind of what I've been doing in terms of my usage of the white Brilliance pigment ink, which is a water-based ink, and it adheres to the printable vinyl sticker paper just fine, and it also dries just really fast. Hello, Linda. All right, so let's get into this right now. I'm going to do a little bit of a layout, and let me just get my basic bearings here. Okay, now one of the things that I tested on a previous composition using the Greco-Roman pieces, when I stamped out my imagery in a very light tone, and you can still see it pretty well on that. So I'm going to I have some residual black on this, and I just cleaned it off a little bit, but I'm going to try to get an impression with that, and I'll see how this goes. Okay, let me just see. Let me just put a little bit of water on this sponge right here. I'll go sponge to sponge here and just get a little bit of water on this and see if I can get a little bit of an impression, okay? So again, this is a cleaned off stamp. Not clean completely because there's no reason to take it all off, but let me just get my bearings here. Let's see. Let's have this going off the page a little bit. And this will be my foreground image. Yeah, that shows up okay. I don't know if you can see that right there. Okay. Looks actually really dark, doesn't it? It's probably darker because it's really wet right now, but... Okay, that's just my placement stamp. And then I'm going to block it off, and I'm going to be stamping this right over the top of that later on. Okay, let's go for another impression of it down here. Man, that is really weird how that sticker paper, it changed the spirit of the paper. It became this frosted type of coating on here, which I guess is some kind of emulsion coating, where it stamped on there the impression. And remember, it was just basically water on here, but a little bit of ink. I guess just water would do it. It looks chrome because it made it look, instead of this frosted finish, it makes it look real glossy. Okay, so we'll see how that takes. I hope it takes my black ink impression that I put over the top of that later. Hello, Cecile, Bonnie, Phyllis, and Bugs. Good to see you all. Hope you had a nice week. leading into a nice weekend out here in Southern California. We're going to be looking at a lot of rain between now and, I mean, not so much down here in San Diego, but around the state, they're really getting some flooding up around that Bay Area and kind of the central California area. Can't believe some dams are letting water out. After we're used to hearing about water conservation and kind of the reservoirs being at whatever percentage of capacity, not releasing water. So we're always kind of torn, We don't want people's kind of houses all, floating downstream or anything like that. But man, you're just kind of programmed to, be thinking about, I don't know, just the absence of water. Okay, so there's another impression right there. These are the art foamies. Now we can't see it a lot, but I don't need to see it a lot. Okay, I don't want it to. I don't want to see like real definitive impressions on here because I'm going to be stamping over the top of it and I'm going to be laying down my white ink on here. If you haven't seen this before, this done before on whatever, my videos and whatnot. Okay, so this is printable holographic vinyl sticker paper. It takes water-based media just fine. Brilliance pigment inks happen to be water-based as opposed to oil-based like most pigment inks are. So these work really well on here. But you can stamp anything you want on here. But in order to stamp scenes, I just need to block off some of this because I don't want to have all of this showing through all of the imagery that I'm going to be stamping out on top of it. Now on this one here, I want some of this to be showing through though. I'm just getting my bearings. I've added this extra little step into the process where I can kind of get a little bit of a gist of where my imagery is going to be. You can see that like that. Okay, now this is the first time I just tried it with straight water too, so. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to block all these images out with the white pigment ink and other areas where I don't want, this super busy, colorful, three-dimensional looking patterning showing through, I don't know, like the forest floor. But like I said at the beginning of this one, I want to leave some of that kind of intact a little bit and showing through my imagery a little bit just to get some of the gist of that exciting patterning within the imagery. I just don't want it to dominate the imagery, and we want to be able to read the imagery too. So if I didn't do any of this right here and I just stamped the imagery right over the top of it in black, any type of open imagery would be kind of distracting with all of this showing through it. So you need to block it off a little bit. All right. Okay, so that being said, that might sound confusing if you haven't seen this before either, but we'll show you this. If you can, I don't know, if you don't get completely bored and drop out, you'll see the process, or you can watch it in replay too. Hello, Laura. Good to see you. Jeannie, hello. Okay. Oh, did someone mention something about something with the sound? While I would do it, Kevin, I've ruined several pieces because I get them wet. Oh, the printable vinyls, Linda? Oh, is that, do I have my, let's see, is the sound okay for, oh, here. Okay, how's the sound now? I had my speaker, I don't know, my computer or something must have crashed or something like that when it was asleep. So the sound is all the way up. Sometimes people hear like echoing. Do you sound, can you hear me still now? I just turned my speaker off on my computer. Sometimes people get the echoing type of sound if I have my volume up because I don't know, it's probably playing back here or something. Or whenever any of you post a thing, it goes, click, click. Okay, so, all right, so let me see here. I'm going to try to get the gist of the imagery, and inevitably when I stamp out my imagery on top of this, I'm not going to be using a positioner or anything like that. So, I don't need to, this all doesn't need to be perfect, okay? Okay, now let's see here. Okay, so this is going to be a little bit of a forest floor. I'm going to have this one figure sitting at the base of this, and it's going to have a deer right here. And the quote, I'm kind of basing this around, a lot of times I add the quotes. I don't know if it's so much of a kind of a secondary thought or something like that. Afterthought, I guess you can say. But it's... this one is kind of, you know, somewhat of a thematic piece around one touch of nature makes the whole world kin. And I thought it'd be perfect to have this sitting figure. It's out of the new nature set with the figures. And I'm going to have a deer kind of up here, kind of off, you know, like in a little bit of a clearing. And I thought that would be a good kind of match right there. Thematically. But okay, let's see. Let me try to get this little, but I don't know, can you guys hear me? Okay, the sound's fine, Jeannie. All right, great. All right, so let's see. Those little trees, although the art Foamy stamp is a big stamp, but even, you know, the 3 bare trees are pretty narrow there. Okay. So, all right, so this is one case. If I stamp a word stamp up here, it is just not going to be able to be seen unless I add some clouds up there or something like that. So I might add this quote stamp down here in the grassy meadow. I'm not sure. It's kind of better if you have this up here though, you know. So I might put a little bit of a bank of like white clouds up there or something like that. And a little bit of forest mist right here as well. But I want some of this little glittery effect down here. So I'm going to try to retain some of that. I don't want to retain a lot of it, you know, but, you know, because it wouldn't, you know, make sense in terms of a lens flare type of look. See, that's getting a little bit thick right there, but that's okay. Like I said, I don't want, you know, to be, you know, have all that pattern showing through like extreme, in an extreme sense. But see, something like, let's see, I need to get my bearings here because I need to see what shows through. That's a little bit too much. See, like down in here, that little bit. Let's see, I just re-inked my pad, so this is going really fast and building up on here. So I'll be a little bit careful about how thick of a layer I'm building up down here. Okay. Oh, and I thought, okay, so I want there to be like some colorful little wildflowers in this little clearing right here on around the florist floor. But I thought it would be kind of cool, you know, to have some of this colorful shimmer showing down there as well. But anyways, like I said, I don't know. I'm really not quite sure how much of this to lay down so that this kind of complements and doesn't like completely overwhelm the little, you know, floral shimmery pattern that I lay down in that area. So we'll see how it goes. Okay, so this is my, here, I'll show you what I've done right here. See, this is where the trees are going, right? Okay. And I've kind of blocked those out. We have some of that pattern showing down here. See how it's really easy for me to just completely lose all that little pattern down there because I'm used to kind of blocking it in. Now, in person, I can see the patterning all the way through here. You're getting a lot of glare coming off, so it probably doesn't show up as much. Okay, there, you can see it right there. You can, you know, how much is kind of showing through there like that. Okay, so this is where the imagery and that meadow is going to be okay. But I like to go up above this area though to have like a little bit of a cloudy, misty background in there. And I think that will help too. Now this deer right here is largely silhouette. So, I mean, it would show up like that if I put that there. But it'll show up a little bit more if I just kind of put a little bit of a hazy mist behind it so that it isn't quite so extreme of that shimmery pattern back there, okay? I mean, this type of paper, when you use this, any type of these holographics, the paper is going to compete, you know, with the imagery that you have down there. You just want it to, I hesitate to use the word harmonize because I don't know if it's actually harmonizing with it, but you just want to make it look kind of cool and to not like overwhelm, you know, what that your stamped imagery statement that you're trying to make, you know, with your imagery. Okay. All right, so I think I am going to go for that quote stamp up here. It seems to fit perfectly between these trees. I wasn't thinking, you know, I didn't measure it out thinking I was going to do that, but just by coincidence, that will fit right in between these two trees right here nicely. If I can stamp it straight and not crooked like last week. Or was it, I don't know, it was like 2 weeks ago. All right, so let's see here. This is going pretty fast here. I guess it's because I re-inked my pad here. I'm usually doing this forever. It feels like. By the way, this is a half-page piece of the... This is what this type of stuff looks like, okay? You ink it. There's a lot of brands out there. This one happened to come out of this pack right here. It was 10 sheets, and I think it was 5 sheets, or 2 sheets of 5 different patterns, I think, on this one. This one I wasn't thinking about this one at all. I kind of wanted to get this real shardy looking icy one right here to play around with. But in using this one a couple weeks ago, I really like it. Not necessarily more than the others. I don't know. You know, all these papers are kind of, or at least vinyl patterns are kind of crazy looking. So you're never really quite sure exactly how they're going to look, you know, in this type of setting right here. Oh! Okay, so something I was thinking about before I went live here is, you know, this is vinyl. It's printable holographic sticker paper. So wouldn't it be cool to take, you know, some of this type of paper like this and to print out like a cloudy background in there. Now remember, a lot of cloud prints, they're going to have white in it, okay, like clouds. And printers, you know, our home inkjet printers, the way that you achieve white is, you know, you just don't cover over that area right there, okay? So it's not going to have like white clouds in here or something like that, but you'll get the blue tones or something like that in here, and you can get, we can print on these vinyl papers like this, sticker papers, printable sticker papers, and then do like photo stamp, and you stamp your imagery right on the top there. Instead of it being like a photograph of just some clouds, it'll be a photograph of kind of in the negative space of clouds, but with the holographic showing through it. So that might be kind of interesting. I don't know if it'll work or not, but like I said, this is printable sticker paper, so I would think, you know, we would get some kind of gist of some clouds down here, which would contribute to some extra texturing. I don't know. Whether or not it looks good, you know, that's another question. I guess whether or not it works too, but I don't see why it wouldn't. Maybe I shouldn't say that, you know. Sometimes when I think it doesn't work, it works out great, you know. And the other things, not that when I think it's going to work and it, you know, they don't, but I don't know. I'm just not quite sure how much of a print, you know, we'd be able to see of, you know, like the negative space of clouds on top of this type of paper, and if this would just show right through, you know, light blue inks laid down there or something like that. They have these holographic papers like this, I think they're thinking about you're going to be printing out like black text on them or something like that, or logos or something like that, where you'd be able to see it really good. But I don't know. So, all right, let's see if I didn't ruin my paper here. Oops, I got some of my ink on my stamp there. No big deal, but I mean on my tack and peel. I'll need to wash that off later though. Okay, so this woman's going to be in front of this Art Foamies version of the tree trunk, okay? So I'm stamping her out, and then we'll mask her off, and then we'll stamp the foamy right behind her like that. Okay. Oh, good. I didn't have to look for this little piece of plastic. I usually lose that like instantly. Okay, let's see. All right. We can use any kind of inks on this now at this point in time. So if something kind of went wonky with the water impression, registration impression, where this, Brilliance black pigment ink doesn't stamp out yet, I would think that you can just use a StazOn with it. I don't know if I've avoided using StazOn on the Art Foamies though, just because this is an absorbent foam stamp, and it would the StazOn I think would dry really fast because it's getting absorbed into this. But things like a Claire would probably be fine. But let's see how this goes here. I'll do this one on this side first. Okay, now that white pigment ink too, the white Brilliance. Remember, it's Brilliance ink that I used on here, not other types of oil-based pigment ink. That dries and adheres really good on there. So, I don't know. There wasn't any problem with that I can see. If I wipe my finger through there, who knows? I don't think it's going to wipe off, but I think that registration is going to work just fine. Okay, let's see. Here we go. All right. Let's see, we'll mask her off just like this. Now I don't need to really cut out like a super careful mask around her. I'm just going to do that. And then the tree is going to go right here. Can you see that one right here? All right. Where is she? Okay, that's right around the base. Okay, the only part that I'm kind of being careful is I have to cover her arm up because her arm is not solid, it's open. Dye-based inks I think would work just fine on here too. Just a black dye-based ink. I know it works directly with no problem on top of the printable vinyl. And I've used imagery colored in dye-based inks to stamp right on top of the Brilliance too, and that was no problem. Okay, let's see if I need to do more masking here with this stamp. Okay, there was one branch, trunk right there that I didn't block out right in there. I'm just going to stamp it right over the top of that, and that patterning is going to show through it. Okay, but here's the dilemma right here. If I stamp this right here, okay, I'll be masking off her face, of course, but having that solid imagery in black right there go right down in here, right around her head area, that's not going to be good because that's going to kind of compete with her form right here, okay? She's already kind of merged in with the tree, which will separate them with the use of colors in here too, but okay, so when I stamp this out right here, I'm going to wipe off a lot of the ink right here around this trunk, or around the entire base of this, okay? So that it looks like there's like a veil of mist or something like that in here, some you know, fog kind of creeping along this area right in here. That'll kind of make it a little bit more mystical too, where she's kind of encountering this other deer in here as well. Okay, so yeah. Okay, so let me see. Let me get my bearings here. I think that was about right there. It doesn't really matter too much, but okay, so I need to go like right from right here down. It's going to be very light, okay? Okay, I put a little bit of ink down there. My problem is always kind of when I'm removing ink sometimes is not removing enough. So, okay, it's going like this, so get your bearings. It's gonna have to be this tree right here especially. So I'm gonna wipe from the bottom up like this, so it goes from lighter and drier to wetter up here, okay, like this. And we'll do the same over here. Because I can actually see the ink that I'm removing on the stamp right here, but I'm going to remove a pretty decent amount of this. Sometimes it's hard to tell how much to remove because you don't want to remove so much that it doesn't stamp out at all, okay? And on rubber you can see it more because it's just salt, you know, it's not, rubber's a little bit porous, but you know, it's not going to be as porous as this. So I should do a test print just to, you know, kind of make sure, but I'm not going to do that. So somewhat recommended to do it, you know, a test print. Is this up here or is this down here? I can't tell. I think it's right here. I can kind of see that branch right there from my initial impression, my registration impression. All right. I probably removed a little bit more than I think, but I don't know. Like I said, it's usually been the opposite in the past where it's like, oh, I should have taken off more ink. Okay, let me see. And it's perfect, you know, as always. I don't know, I think I took off a little bit more here. That looks okay. I mean, it might have looked a little bit better if it was a little bit lighter. Okay, because it, you know, it goes right there. But it's lighter, though. But I can just put some more white pigment ink right over the top of that, right? Okay. I was a little bit off in terms of my registration. You can see it right there, that little ghost. I was off by quite a bit, but... oh, you know what happened, though, too? Now, I forgot that branch was in here, because I wasn't thinking about it. Now that quote stamp isn't going to work in there. So that quote, if I do use it, it's going to be right in here. You know, if stuff like that comes up, you just change course, you know, and just, you know, stuff's a little bit planned out and a lot kind of improvised in this type of stamping that I do. All right, so let's get rid of a little bit of that ghosting. I'm going to put some hanging branches over that. Okay, so that doesn't matter up there. My missing of the registration. Okay, and right in back here, I'm going to put a little bit more of this white pigment ink over the top of this tree, or the bottom of this tree. but over the top of the imagery, okay? Just so that there's a little bit more contrast between her and that tree in the background, okay? Because we want her to stand out. Unless we're making a statement on, you know, like camouflage or something like that. All right, and then I have my tree down here. I can get my bearings a little bit and kind of figure out where I can put a little bit more kind of mist and whatnot. Okay. We'll keep this because we'll use this a little bit more. And good. I have my sedge filler stamp right here. I had my Distress Ink Antique Linen because I was wondering if I would have to use that color as my registration impressions right here, because this is really, really light, but water worked just fine with, you know, the printable vinyl, I guess. Okay, so this is going to be my little horizon. That's where this deer is going to be like that. So, except, you know, it'll be this way, like that. Okay, so let's see. Oh, that's really dark, like that. Okay, and oh, that is so dark. And my foreground's like really light now with that tree, so let's do some masking right here. Let me blot that off a little bit. I just re-inked this black ink too, so it's kind of strong like that, okay? But I'm just going to be putting some more white pigment ink over the top of that again, so that's not really going to matter too much. Or it won't interfere with things, okay? Okay, I'm going to put a little bit of this texturing down here, and then if I do have room, let me see if I have room for that quote. I can always kind of put one of those quotes right over the top of this too, on a separate piece of paper and just, you know, tack it down on here, but if I can get it right in here, I'll do that. I don't know. Or, I don't know if that'll fit this way too, though, won't it? All right. Oh, glad you can hear. Or, I don't know, maybe these live things would be better without the sound, though, for all of you. Sometimes when I'm watching my videos and I'm editing, it's like, my head. Maybe I talk too much and kind of like a more ASMR kind of approach would be better. If you guys know what that is. All right. Maybe that would be a separate channel. Stampscapes ASMR. Okay, so, you know what I like? I'm starting to see something here a little bit now, too. This little area right here, I'm going to make this on a little bit of a separate plane. In other words, it'll look like a little, you know, instead of this being kind of more continuous right here, I'm going to do a more definitive slope right here using this, okay? So that it would kind of represent a little bit of a dip, like it goes down and then up there, okay? We'll try to make it look like that, you know. And it was just that it just happened to turn out that way a little bit. I wasn't thinking about that, but it's like, oh, that looks, you know, I was going to eradicate that a little bit, that line, but I thought that could work to our benefit right here. So I'll go like that in there, okay? So she's sitting here, there's a little bit of a drop off, and then it goes up here like a little bit of a hill. So that's how you create a little bit of separation within a given kind of space that looks the same. Okay, now you see some of those little things kind of shining through here. That's what I was going for here. All right. So I didn't block everything out. Okay, let's go for a little bit more of a stronger texturing in here, like so. And that should be our basic layout. Okay. I'm trying to think if I should stamp the deer in here right now, or if I should do it later. Like if I add in a bunch of colors in here, and such. Maybe this should come later because it's nice and strong silhouette and it'll stamp right over the top of it, you know, even if I have to use like a stays on or something of that sort. All right. Okay, so speaking of different colors used in the imagery, it would be easier if I just stamped this leaf stamp kind of hanging over, you know, as a little bit of an overhang like that, just in black ink, okay? But I'm going to try to use a little bit more color on it to get a little bit more variation and depth within the piece. I mean, someone just, well, they just didn't do it. I haven't been on Facebook for a few days, so they sent me over a photograph, and it showed a couple tree trunks to each side, but these types of trees, it was more like the tree trunk trio, but it was full of foliage, okay? It was like hanging down practically to the ground and flanking like a composition that had these rocks in the background. There was a little bit of a lake, and there was some fishing right here. I don't know. It looked like a compilation shot to me because the rocks look exactly like Joshua Tree in the background. Okay, but she was asking me, you know, how you do these, how would she do the trees? Okay, so I suggested the tree trunk trio. And then it was like foliage just everywhere, okay? It was in back of the tree, back of the trunks, in front of the trunks in different densities. And I suggested to her that, not on the printable holographic, but that she do these in different colors. So this one's like a darker green, okay? And she do some of that behind the trees, and then some darker ones in front, and then use your paint pens to go in and add in some extra depth in these trees. And I don't know, when I started thinking about doing all that, it made me want to do something, you know, to stamp out something kind of like that. So I just threw in the extra, the printable holographic, because I thought that would look cool. And I would just be combining a couple things that I've wanted to do with kind of that, you know, suggestion that I just made to someone, you know, I don't know, whatever it's been, an hour ago or something like that. Jeannie was on. She asked me if I was going live. That's what I was looking at the time, the IM, and coming up with suggestions for this person. Okay, so anyways, look at this. See this how this looks right here? These are just dye-based inks. This is just the Marvy bottle green right here, okay? But when you stamp it over the white like that, it's a little bit lighter because, I don't know, if it's probably not physically mixing with that white brilliance ink that's already been applied and dried on here. But you can see it's darker on just the bare printable, you know, sticker paper, okay? Now it's probably darker right now too because it's a little bit wet and it's drying and adhering, where on the printable vinyl it's like you're stamping into like dry, I don't know, like paper like this or something like that, because it kind of gives you that base and it's absorbing things a lot faster. The brilliance inks, after you lay them down, they're very absorbent still, so they're absorbing the moisture from this ink that you're printing on here, like this, okay? Now, I'm not trying to do that scene that she was talking about. If I did, though, I'd be coming down here. I'd be going all over these trunks like this, to some degree, okay? You know, you want to kind of hang in and whatever. And it was foliage galore. Okay, but anyway. So let's make this fairly dense in here, okay? Now remember, this isn't the only color that I'm going to be stamping this out in, so I don't want to make this like super dense just with the green, okay? Because I'm going to be doing like black foliage impressions right over the top of this too, and then we're going to be using the paint pens, the acrylic paint pens, to embellish some of those leaves, and they're giving it a little bit of extra dimension and being able to go with something light over something dark, okay? Now this is going with the green over the black like this, and you can only see the green where it is, really darker than the area in back of it. You can't really see the greens like in, that areas of the tree trunk that are black, okay? So this is the way you do that. You bring extra dimension with opaque media like that. All right, so that is that, and let's see, let's go with some of the, we'll go back to the Brilliance Black, but like I said, you can use like a StazOn black if you want something really super dark right over the top of these. That would be fine. The dye-based black probably wouldn't be quite as dark as, a thicker style of pigment ink, or like a solvent, like a solvent black, like a StazOn or whatever. Those other types of archival ones. I don't know. You guys can tell me that. I'm only really familiar with StazOn as far as like a, waterproof archival ink like that. I guess some archivals aren't solvents, but I don't know. You can tell me about, if they're really dark or not. Okay, but see, we're kind of building up that extra little kind of imagery depth inherently in the impressions themselves. We can get depth with the use of coloring that we apply to this, but if you can get it kind of inherently in the imagery, it really gives you a head start in terms of visual depth of a scene. Now, a lot of times, if I'm doing this on a white piece of paper, I'm usually saving this kind of step after I color everything, but on printable holographic vinyl, we already have, a lot of the colors in the background already established, so we don't have to do that part of the coloring. You're going to apply colors into there. Usually, there might be some sort of application, but I haven't really thought of a, color on in that type of open field like that, as far as like a need for doing something like that. Okay, let's see. Were your dancing gals from past? I noticed you had one on a wood mount. The only one that I had on a wood mount was this one right here. I don't know if you can tell her she is. That was one that was done by the Moon Rose rubber stamps out of New York. And, apparently they're still around. And I don't know if I contacted someone, but someone that was, after I used that stamp of mine, they contacted them. I think I might have done it too, because I've used that stamp periodically through the years, and it just like, they were done with that stamp and not going to put it back into production or something like that. So it was just c'est la vie, but then I decided, okay, I'm just going to do those stamps like that and put some of these other imagery like that into production, because they were not available from those companies that had previously put them into production. So, but that was the only one I think I had on the wood mount. The other imagery I've seen, I don't have them myself, but like this one right here was someone, there might have been multiple companies with this one right here in production. I'm not sure, but I never had it. And the other ones I hadn't seen before. They were probably out there somewhere, but I don't know. I had to clean up the files so much on those ones, though. Kind of blowing those things up at like 700% and cleaning up all the engraving kind of marks and things like that. So I don't know if some other company had that before, and if they didn't do that same type of thing, it would have kind of made for a little bit of a sloppy image on some of them, because there was a lot of broken kind of engraving marks on them. And presumably they had the same books that I got it out of, these old copyright 19th century engraving books, like public domain ones. By the way, there's not copyrighted imagery. These are all stuff, like I said, from the 19th century and whatnot. Okay, so here's some different greens here. This is going to be used on this meadow in here. We're going to try to bring in some color onto this. Okay, so here's the thing. I wouldn't necessarily color. I haven't really tried it. I guess if you were using some like stipple brushes, you can probably lay down some colors using some very light, like almost like paintbrush types of effects. Like if you used a paintbrush like this one right here and dabbed it into a pad like this, and if you just kind of dab this on, you wouldn't go with this tippy one right here, but you'd go with more of those rounded style stipple brushes or something like that. Some of them are called stencil brushes, but they're not the real hard ones. But you can probably get some color like that, doing that type of thing. But I wouldn't do like my paper towel type of thing where I'm, fairly soaked in like this, and I'm going with a fairly wet area like that, because if I did that right over the top of this white Brilliance ink, that's going to put the Brilliance ink back into solution. I think, I think it would come right off, and I would, some might transfer on there, but I think I would be picking up some of that white ink that's already been laid down on here. It's dry to the touch and whatnot, but that type of ink, because it's not penetrating into this type of vinyl, it's grabbing that emulsion on there, but I think that emulsion is water-based too, because it's going to be accepting of water-based media. I think it would mess up my imagery on there, okay? So that's where I like to use colored pencils for the most part when coloring this type of application of the Brilliance. I'm not really coloring the vinyl, right? I'm coloring the white Brilliance ink that has been adhered onto the vinyl, okay? It's still, these are early kind of experimentation days with the vinyls, so there might be some other way to do it, but I don't know. I just haven't experimented around with it too much yet. I'm just kind of using what I already have. Okay, so this coloring process goes fairly fast. Okay. I'm going to put this layer of mist coming from down here, so the tops of the areas like that are going to be a little bit darker. It's kind of, I don't know if it's not counterintuitive isn't the word, but usually when you have a light source coming from above, you have these areas on the tops of mounds lighter, like my knuckle right here, okay? But this is going to be a little bit opposite. I'm going to have a more definitive top edge in terms of darkness and media applied, and as it goes down, it's going lighter. Now, maybe not here because I just have this small amount of space right here, but it's going to be going from like kind of lighter up here, darker right here, lighter right here, and darker right here. And then again, that kind of creates a little bit of separation in terms of distance between this area and this area, which we could have had on the same, all in the same little meadow. This could be a slope and it just continuously goes up like that. That it wouldn't be wrong. It would just be a little bit different looking. All right, so I'm kind of creating that little bit of a darker edge like that, and then I'll kind of fill this in with a lighter touch down here. With colored pencil, you just, press a little bit less pressure, and you get a lighter version of that hue. Hello, Jen. Let's see. Hello, Vintage Scrap Girl. Good to see ya. Are you getting pounded with rain? Glad you like your Dream Girl stamps. That's awesome. They kind of give a little bit of a different spirit to the scenes, don't they? Like, you know what I mean? Like this. I wouldn't have like, I put other figures in here, but this is going to look, I think this one's going to look pretty cool like this. All right, but you see that separation there? A little bit of a slope right here. This is a little bit of a harsh kind of impression of the top of this because it was really caked on, you know what I mean? Thick black pigment ink, but I'm going to put a little of that mist kind of creeping over the edge of this one, you know, coming up here, when I'm done coloring in right here. But this is the printable vinyl. It makes for a pretty interesting kind of media process, layering process, I guess. I mean, I'm really, like I said, I'm really coloring all the white pigment ink on here, but I almost feel like I'm coloring on top of, like holographic cardstock, not printable holographic, sticker paper, okay? And normally you can't use, colored pencils very well, if at all, on a holographic, cardstock, okay? Not even something like a glossy cardstock or something like that. So I feel like I don't know, I feel like we're getting away with something here, in some ways. It's like opened up, a lot of possibilities here with this. Look at this little area here where it's a little kind of sparkly too, like that. Maybe that can represent a little bit of like a pond or something down here where it's reflecting that lighting up there. I'm getting a little bit of a glare. Let me try to get a little bit of that glare gone. Yeah, maybe that's a little bit too dark. Yeah, that's about right there. See that right there? Okay. It's hard to expose for these real kind of reflective papers because it's bouncing back at my camera and it can't, the exposure's a little bit sketchy. All right, this one is black. Maybe it's a little bit premature to go to black here. Let's go with the trunks here a little bit more. Or start on the trunks, okay? All right, so see this right here? We're going with this darker trunk down into this lighter area, so I'll go a little bit darker up here, and as I go down here, I'll use this, my colors a little bit in a lighter, softer application. But if I do go too dark down here with my coloring, you just add some white pigment ink back into that area and just knock it down a little bit. So it's a super forgiving medium here. Okay, now I'm going over these areas in here, but some of that little patterning is showing through some of these trunks, which I wanted. And the colored pencils really don't apply on this bare paper very much at all. Okay, so you won't be seeing too much of the colored pencil work in the body of those objects, okay? But you see that little bit of, color there. Do you spray this? I don't, Candy. I tend to spray things that will benefit from the saturation that comes out, that reveals itself with a spraying. Okay, like dye-based inks that are layered on top of one another. The depth and saturation of tones is really enhanced from spraying them, okay? Colors just look much brighter, okay? And colors look deeper with a spray sealing, coating on top of it, okay? So I would do it for that reason. or we can do it to protect something too, a little bit. But this one right here, colored pencils, I don't find get too much brighter, or anything like that. It's almost kind of, the colored pencils are really kind of, to me, they're really soft and mellow and everything like that. And I don't really feel like I need to protect the application of this media on top of here, because I can touch this like this and it's not really coming off. And okay, so with the dye-based inks, going back to the dye-based inks too, after you color something and the inks are nice and wet and everything like that, it just looks so vibrant and beautiful and rich and deep. But sometimes when they dry dull. Okay, they never dry brighter. But with the colored pencils, it's like when you apply this down here, it's like that, what you see is what you get. That is not going to change, very much. And okay, so that being said, if you did want to get a little bit of protectant, coating on here, okay, someone mentioned this before. Is Linda, were you the one? I don't know. Someone said that, I thought it said on the instructions of some of these printable holographic sticker papers, don't spray seal them, okay? That might be true if you're doing something like a really thick acrylic spray, but something like a workable fixative, which is something that colored pencil artists, charcoal, graphite, they all use, okay? It's less kind of influential, to the overall piece. Like a spray fixative is very light, okay? And it's just supposed to give a really thin coating and dry like instantly. So you can go back and you can work over it, a little bit more. Something like that might be okay. But I have workable fixatives, but I don't know, I just don't. I haven't had a reason to do that, okay? Okay, so that being said, let's say if I'm giving a piece like this to like a kid, all right, I'm sending this out to I don't know, some kid, and they're 5 years old or whatever. They would receive this and they'd look at it and they'd toss it in the trash. No, I'm thinking they might not be interested in it all. Okay, but something is going to get handled a ton. I'd probably put a little bit of a spray fixative on it, or something like that. Or what I mean, if you're taking it to a class or something like that, and there's going to be hands-on. People are going to get this, and they want to touch it, and you know what I mean. Then maybe something like that. But I don't know. This stuff is really kind of, this is wax right here, and you're laying it down here, and it's really fixing well. I mean, if I go like this is not going to be wiping off just with normal types of handling. So this holographic vinyl it's pretty. It's pretty everything, okay? It's easy to handle with this type of media. It's accepting of different media. If I go too dark like this, I can put some white back over the top of it, and almost like block it out again with another layer and just go over it again. You can't remove all this now, but I don't know. It's just super user friendly, and I guess it's like with stamp board. Now, stamp board's a different type of thing, but anytime you get some of these different types of surfaces like this, and think about it, I mean, it's designed to accept water-based media, really easily and fast too, because it's going through someone's printer, and it's bending, and it's going through the rollers and everything like that, and it's got to come out of there with your inks intact without all the smearing and stuff like that out of your printer, and it's got to dry fast. So I don't know, for us card makers, having something that's going to accept stuff really fast, grab it onto it, and hold it really good. Dry, people get photographs, and it's being handled in some situations a lot. I don't know. It just makes for a really fantastic surface to utilize. Now, for me, the utilization of the surface is really about the that white brilliance ink, though. No white brilliance ink, I can't. If I don't have that white brilliance ink, I can't do all this type of stuff that I'm doing right here with the colored pencils, unless there's some other media that'll do it that I just don't know about. And I don't know a lot about a lot of stuff that's out there still. But that's the only thing I can think of in our crafting world, that would do that type of thing, because there's no other water-based pigment ink that I can think of. There's a state that stays on white though, but you can't really spread that around though because it's just drying too fast. So yeah, I don't know. So I don't know. I I say this all the time, but if you're kind of looking for something, kind of, you know what I mean? Or you might not even be looking for it. I wasn't looking for this because I didn't think about, using vinyls. I knew vinyls have been around for a while. I don't know how long the printable vinyls have been around. But probably, I don't know. They're using it with crickets and stuff like that, I think. I'm guessing that's where most of the vinyls are being utilized. I have no idea. But I don't know. This kind of just came along, and I was like, I don't know. I'm really blown away because it's allowed me to do things that weren't previously available to us in terms of media compatibility. Okay. And also looks, as a result, different look compatibilities like that. Having something really soft against something really super bright and dynamic like that in the background, it makes for kind of a nice kind of complementary, whatever, textures. Okay, this is my third brown right here. It's a little bit of a, kind of an orangier brown, warmer brown maybe. And I'm utilizing this down in my grassy areas as well. A lot of times I don't like just greens and grasses because I think it doesn't look, it looks a little bit too hot when I'm using dye-based inks, but maybe even here with the colored pencils, it just makes it look a little bit more kind of earthier. I don't put it over everything. Okay, so I have some brown right here and just leave your regular, greens up there. So kind of make it, I don't know, kind of oscillate a little bit in terms of your application of it. All right. And that being said, I mean, you can also come up with your green tones into your, you put some of your browns in your greens, and then you can put some of your greens in your browns too. Like that. And when you put green over brown, it doesn't necessarily look like green over the top of it. It just kind of gives it a little bit more of a, kind of a olivey look in some areas, maybe in the shadows, or it could be moss on the surface. Something like that. See that little bit of green in brown and brown in green, it looks a little bit more, like it's in harmony, maybe. Go with a little bit more green here to get some brighter green. So I got to work it from light into darker tones, and then I go in and I'll use a little bit more of the pressure on these ones to give it, brighter tones as well. Light to dark and dull to bright. And that way I have a lot of control over kind of the end result, because it kind of just, kind of comes into focus nice and slowly. I've ditched the, this will be a card. Maybe I'll use that quote. So that quote stem is going to be perfect for, I don't know. Maybe I'll put that quote right out here on a separate piece of paper and just paste it over the top of when I format my card. I don't know. I think that quote was too good to not use on this composition right here. All right. So anyways, let's see. I pretty much only use my workable fixative when I use my pan pastel. Oh yeah, right, pan pastels. Let's see. Hello, Star. Hello, Julie. Heather, hello. And hello, Karen. I have sprayed the printable vinyl with Krylon matte, no problem. I spray every scene I do. It gives that's a good idea there with the matte. Yeah. So, okay, that's a good idea. That's a good point there Linda brought up. I don't have a matte Krylon. I have a matte. All of my workable fixatives are matte. Okay, because workable fixatives are always going to be matte. But that would be a good. That would probably be a good thing to do on this as opposed to any kind of gloss. But like I said, you know, like the or if you have a workable fixative. So you can probably use like a Krylon. I was going to say you don't need to get both, but if you have a like a Krylon matte, you can probably use it as a workable fixative. It's probably a little bit thicker than kind of a workable fixative too, though. But you can also use just a workable fixative as a matte, you know, sealant as well. If you guys ever think about doing, so do you use your matte? Okay, is your Linda? Is your matte Krylon? Is it a little bit textured? Okay, that's the difference too. And I just thought about it. I'm not sure if you can color over your Krylon matte. Not Krylon workable fixative matte, but just Krylon matte. I'm wondering if that has texture where you can go over it with more media, or is it too smooth? All right, so this is black right here. Okay. Now I'm going to do this right here. What I'm doing is I'm kind of darkening the outer perimeters of these two trees right here, so that it looks more like the light is coming from within there like that. It's not nothing too extreme. I'm not going to make it like black on this side and, you know, light on this side or anything like that, but I'm just going a little bit darker on the perimeter, okay? Like that. And when you do that, it brings the viewer's eye into the scene a little bit more when you have kind of interior lighting. Not that you have to do that all the time or something like that. I mean, it kind of interesting if there was like a, you know, lighting source over here and you made, you know, the left sides of all trees, you know, darker. That would be kind of cool too. But on this one right here, where I'm going to have this little figure standing here, I want the viewer's attention to go like into that space right there. Okay, so that being said, I'll tweak this a little bit more after I get the figure stamped in this area here, but I'll make this area, remember how I said you're going to do the horizons, the tops of these little meadowy whatever bluffs or whatever, a little bit darker up top, and it'll be lighter down below. So I'm doing that right now. Okay. We're going to add in more foreground in here too and whatnot, but I want to get my shading, light and shade and coloring kind of established in here first. Okay, now one of the things I do too, oftentimes, is I'll kind of merge. This is black ink right here. So this right here, where this comes down here, I don't have this like a completely separate color over here. So I'll kind of merge it into this area a little bit like this, okay? So it looks like it's a part of that ground area a little bit more like that. And see over here, there's a strong kind of a separation between this grassy area right here and the trunk. I mean, it looks okay like that, but I like to merge those a little bit more. So this tree is going a little bit more from dark to light here, but I'll also have it go from lighter up here and darker down here where it merges into this area. And plus it can, you know, represent a shadow too, maybe, you know. But it just kind of merges the, it kind of plants the tree into the ground a little bit more. I guess it kind of creates more of a relationship between this area down here because it's, you know, it's kind of the same value as it goes down in there. It's dark right here, and then it's kind of dark right here in this grassy area like that. She can be casting a little bit of a shadow down here too. Okay, so go like that. You can make it as dark as you want. Okay, but see that right there? So see these trees right here, don't they look a little bit more like they're kind of in the ground a little bit more? So especially this one right here, because she kind of takes care of that right over here, but just that little bit of a shaded area. Let's go with a little bit more of a dark green too. A lot of times the shadow areas are just kind of darker versions of, you know, whatever color they are, like that. The illuminated areas are kind of like washed out, like my shirt right here. Okay, you know, I don't know, you can see like these areas in here are like darker red. Okay, it's not like black in here, but it's just a darker version of this same color right here. Okay, I use black on here because I stamped out the objects in black, but you can come into these areas with more of the, a darker greenish tinge like that. Okay. Okay, you can bring some of this green up here like that. I'm just going with a real light touch right here, but, getting some of that color up there like that. All right. Okay, I think that is it. I think as far as the coloring goes, what were we gonna do? Okay, so let's see. I don't know if this deer might be too big right here. I might have to go with a smaller one. I don't know that. Maybe like that. I was gonna put it like a little bit higher up here, but okay, I think I'll go down like that. Yeah, it looks pretty big. Yeah, we're making a statement in terms of how majestic this one is, though. We'll say that. Or who knows? Maybe she's a little pixie or something like that. She's small, woodland pixie. Okay, so this is the deer like that. I gotta work a little bit fast with the StazOn ink drying. I'm gonna give a little bit of a wipe off on that bottom portion like that. And we'll go like this here. StazOn really sticks, so, and it really grabs the vinyl, so just keep that in mind. I think that worked out okay. Now that could have been an area that represented, a very distant location. If I put a little tiny deer or something like that in that area, we could say that's, whatever, 100 yards away. But what we've done is we pulled this space in by having these two things like not too, so I don't know, there's some big animals out there in the wild too. Okay, and let's go with, I was trying to think if I should stamp this first and then add in some of that extra white. And there. Oh, I forgot to do her. I'm thinking about adding in a little bit of white pigment ink in here and having this kind of mist come in front of, maybe not in front of her, but in front of some of these areas right in here. And like at the base of this deer too. I think I should do that right now. But let me get a little bit of color into her too. Some of that little glittery area is kind of showing up in her. I'll have her kind of blend in with the tree a little bit, which she's already kind of doing. Oh yeah, I forgot about little kind of paint pen touches down here too. So let's go into it. Let's add in some little touches in here. Yeah, that might be pointless with the dark green. Okay, some of these little paint touches are going to represent just lighting, sparkly little lighting touches in here. And I think it'll go kind of nicely with that sparkle up there. Okay, oh, and here. I forgot about my branches up here. Okay, so I am going to use this one up in these leaves to give a little bit more dimension up there. Watch one of your older videos today. Great tip. If your wrist is getting tired, use a paper towel roll under your wrist as cushion. That's a good idea. Keep things nice and ergonomic. Ergonomics at all costs, for sure. You can't buy the fixative anymore where I live in Canada either, so had to adapt. That's interesting. Is it because it won't get sent out to you, or is it illegal to have like a... is it aerosols of some sort or something like that? Huh. Well, it wouldn't be because you're getting the mat. Huh. I don't know. Try some art store. Like art stores have to have fixatives. You can't live without fixatives if you know, people are doing like graphite artwork, or, you know, pastels, chalks, you know, that type of thing. I don't know. I would think. Okay, so glad you like it, Phyllis. Okay, let's see. So this, I'm guessing you can't tell at all what that's doing right here. This paint on top of there. I don't know, maybe you can see a little bit. See this green right in here? Like that? Right there. Okay. That's what I'm putting like over some of the, especially the black leaves. So if I put green over green, you know, it's not going to matter because I'm not changing anything. But this is kind of adding this little bit of a three-dimensional touch into the scene right here. Or into the foreground elements. Okay. This is a 3mm acrylic paint pen. If you've ever done rock art, you know what I'm talking about. Or what do you call it? Rock painting. What I want to know is when rock painting got so popular, because that's what I think, like all the ads for these things, that's the examples they use of, you know, whatever, painted rocks, like literally rocks, you know, like for your garden or whatever. But I'm glad it did get popular because there's a lot of different packs, tons of different these packs out there. I forgot the name of that one real main. What's that one real popular brand of paint pen? Posca pens, right? I need to try some of those out sometime. And I really wanted to try. I have one brand of oil-based paint pens. But the one that I have, though, it's not quite as opaque, I don't think, as these ones. I had hoped it would be more three-dimensional and shiny. Okay, I'm going with a lighter one right here. You might be able to tell on camera a little bit more of how this kind of affects things right here. Because there's a little bit more contrast with the, you know, this light green. These paint pens, going back to opacity, they're going to dry and they're going to kind of merge. Not physically merge, but they're just going to, they're not as, they don't look as opaque when they dry. They get more, for some reason, they get more see-through. I don't know what's happening, you know, there in terms of chemistry of it, or I don't know, why that looks like that, but it does. which isn't necessarily a bad thing, you know, because it kind of harmonizes with the background more. But if you do want, you know, some areas to stand out a little bit more, you can go back in, you can layer additional layers and build it up a little bit more. My preference would be that they were a little bit more opaque, and the pigment to binder ratio, you know, pigment to, in this case, water ratio was a little bit higher, because sometimes I kind of have to lay down a ton of this, you know, for it to show. And I prefer not to have to do that, you know, do an extra whatever 3 layers. I'd rather, you know, just kind of inherently be there. But that being said, sometimes I've kind of overworked it, where I've kind of, and then when it dried, it's like, oh, okay, that looks better. You can't see what I just did, you know what I mean? It looks a little bit better. So sometimes it could be good. All right, so anyways, you can see where that opacity, light over dark, gives that a little bit more depth, textural depth too, you know, having that stand out. It's just not all just dark leaves up there. You have some kind of, you know, it puts a little bit of light reflecting off of the leaves in that area. Okay, let's add in some additional little highlights into some of these grassy tufts right here. If you notice on the sedge filler, there's like shadows like that, and that's kind of representing, you know, the distance between that and that, just like it is this whole thing and that in the background. So what I'm doing is I'm putting the little highlights like on these areas right here underneath the shadow like that, okay? So, I mean, this is real subtle right here, but you see this little shadow right here. So you put the those little illuminated areas, the little highlighted I don't know, whatever reflections, like right over that, okay? Or I guess I should say under the shadows here, okay? All right, so we have our illuminated area right here, so I'm going to put in a little bit more, I think, of my highlights in here. It's green, I mean, but they are lighter, so anything lighter than if you're applying anything lighter over something darker, it looks like lighting, okay? It might not be a highlight, but it's going to be illuminated. All right, so that gives that grass a little bit more depth like that down there. And that's, again, with just this kind of pastel green right here. The pens that I tend to use a lot of are the lighter colors, light blues, light greens, into the pastels. And because I'm usually applying them over something dark. Okay, let me try something here. Here's a little bit of a tan right here. Let's try some on the tree trunk as well here. Yeah, I like this one, Linda. I was thinking about, I don't know what I thought about first. I was thinking about her sitting at the base of something, but having her sitting there too, this type of thing, like, I think this seemed to look pretty good just with the deer there, but you put this thing right here and it creates this additional visual dialogue between two, you know, living elements in the scene, which is kind of fun. All right, so adding in a few little highlights on the tree trunk. The 0.7 millimeter would probably be a little bit better for this than this big, thick 3 millimeter, but the size of this scene is fair, you know, reasonably large, you know, it's bigger than a quarter page card size, but, and then, I don't know, I feel these big dots in here, you know, so putting some of these other dots in here like this, you know, they don't stand out as much as they normally would. You know, because that texture is all throughout here anyway. Okay, use this right here. I'm adding it onto the tree trunk like that. See that right there? And then, I don't know if you can see that. I see there's right over here. Okay, and there's some right in here. I'll add some right along here so you can see it. Remember, this goes down in the shadow area, so I wouldn't have too many highlights going down in that area because it's, you know, it's supposed to be kind of a darker area of the tree trunk, so I'm not going to put light into that. Okay, just like this. And then this color is on the trees, so again, to create a little bit more of a harmony, I'm going to use it down here in the grassy area. Okay. All right, let's put a little bit of color in there too. Let's go with these, like a pink and purple. You know, because you know those colors are kind of up there anyway. Let's see if we still have some of that color showing through there. I can see a little bit of it. Yeah, see that little bit of a holographic patterning showing in the grass down there. So I left that kind of a little bit more bare. And it's in the trees too. It's in the trunks a little bit, like on the edges where I didn't go all the way out with the white pigment ink. So I guess that looks pretty good. We don't have to use, I don't know. For me, what I'm saying to myself is I don't have to use quite as much, I don't have to get quite as much coverage on this printable vinyl. You know what I mean? To have some of that stuff showing, you know, that patterning showing through the different imagery here and there. I think it looks pretty good. Maybe there are some instances where you really want to block it off, but, you know, I don't know. You don't have to. Oh, one thing I should say, though. I mean, there's probably some sort of, I don't know, kind of ideal application in terms of the depth of the white pigment ink that you're building up on there. But if you build up the white pigment ink a little bit, like really super, super thin, like one layer, and you don't build up a little bit over the top of it, I think that those areas take less layering with your colored pencils, okay? It gives a little bit more body the more white pigment ink you layer down there. So like right around in here, in these areas, like right in here, I did lay down quite a bit of that white pigment ink, you know, for, I don't know, 4 or 5 layers of those colored pencils. I don't know if that's absolutely for sure. That's, you know, that's what I think, you know, using these so far. That seems to be the case. Okay, so this little purple down here are going to be, I don't know, whatever. Wildflowers, lupin, or I don't know, whatever. So I'm going to kind of cluster that a little bit. I don't add it uniformly like over everything. I think it tends to look a little bit better if it's kind of clustered in groupings. I mean, I don't know, some hills are covered in wildflowers, just dense, but more often than not, I kind of see it kind of like in little patches here and there. But even if it's not, you know, I was mentioning it's someone, we don't have to like stick to rules of, you know, whatever nature. You just kind of reference it and you translate it into your works. Okay. Yeah, so this is pink over the purple, you know, because it's kind of related anyway. That. So bring some of those colors down in that area like that. Okay. Now that's looking a little bit extreme for me, but I mute it down a little bit with a little bit of white pigment ink over the top of it. So, okay, let's see. Here's a little blue. I'm gonna add a little bit of blue down in this. Like maybe there is a little bit of water trapped in that little area, that little dip in there. I got this harsh line right there for some, I don't know, something. I'm going to mute that down a little bit. You can't really like remove things that have been added into this vinyl a lot of times, but you can you know, just cover it up with some additional media. Let's see down here. That's a little bit too misty. let's, let's come in here with a little bit more of those greens. Okay, let's go with that right there. And then I'll add a little bit of this. I think there was another blue that I was using. This is true blue. Where's that really great blue? Oh, here it is right here. I love this aquamarine right here. I'm not going to fill that whole area up down there. We'll just give it a little bit of tone because there was a big, huge, like, white cloud there where maybe that was too much. So we'll go with that. Yeah, it kind of looks like water. I'm not going to leave it like that, though. I'm going to put a little bit more tone over the top of it. All right. I think I might be getting some of this ink with all that ink that's on my hand like that by touching it down like that. I'm not sure. Oh, well. I'm not someone that says keep your grubby hands off my pieces because my hands are grubbier than anyone's. So just remember to spray seal all your pieces. I'm just joking, you know what I mean? Maybe if I send a piece to me, I need to, you know, spray seal it because, you know, my hands are like the funkiest of them all. I think you know what it is? I'm getting all of it. It's coming off of this right here. Off of my blotter paper down here. That's what it is. My hand's down here. Ah, darn it. Focusing again here. Sorry. Yeah, I got all that. It was all that black pigment ink on my paper right here. Right here. I'm getting it all like this, and I'm going up here like that. Okay, let's see. Okay, so white pigment ink again. Okay, so here's the areas right in here. We've kind of established that this is kind of a mistier area right here, right? But you see those really definitive legs like that, okay? So let's go with some white pigment ink, okay? Now blot that off a lot. For me, I just re-inked, you know, my white pad here. So if you're using white pigment ink, what I'm doing on a cotton ball is I'm smashing this down like that, okay? So it's not all frayed, it's nice and straight and flat like that. Again, blot it off a little bit, okay? Use a lot less than you think would be ideal, and then if it's too dry, just add more ink to it. Blot it off again, okay? That's better than going on with something that's way too wet and getting a blob on there, okay? If you do get a blob, though, it's like, oh my god, I got a blob on there, and it's too blobby down here. Just add some, you know, colored pencil right back over the top of it and remedy that, okay? So go with light touch, and just layer it so you can barely see it there. Okay, don't go out of focus, please. And so it gives it kind of that, it puts that deer now in the mist, like that. Okay. And this background tree here is in the mist. I'll add a little bit more like that because I didn't get it super smooth. And then right in here, this does get dark, and it's just kind of, it goes counter to what I was talking about before, where this is going dark in here, but it'll be the same value as this, but I'll just put a little bit of this mist coming into here like this. Okay. So it's still connected to this ground area, you know, as it's the same value as it now, as it is now, as it was before, but so it's still connected, but it's just lighter like that. So it has a little bit of that light coming in. I'm not gonna put her in any mist, okay? I think that might... I think I like her as is, right there. I don't want her like sitting in the fog, you know what I mean? Too much. She could build a little bit, but I think I don't know, she kind of blends right in with that, like harmoniously, you know. Let's see. Did I use some of this white pigment ink up top? I did. Okay, so I'm going to put some of this up here over some of these leaves, okay? It'll be kind of subtle. I don't want to do too much of it because I want it to kind of be darker up there anyway to kind of frame the scene off, okay? Let's go like that. Okay. And, all right. I think the brilliance would stick on this, but I just think the StazOn is going to stick much better over wax, over the wax buildup of the colored pencils here. So let's go with StazOn foregrounds in here. Glad you like the combo, Jeannie. I like these people like this because you can put anything in the background and they'll be kind of looking at it, you know, if you put it over in that direction that they're looking in. I was looking for the other one. I was going to have her on this side, but I don't know. I couldn't find her for some reason. I haven't been stamping, so I'm losing my stuff. I know where most things are usually. All right, but these are the foreground elements. You see those reeds right in there. Let's see if I can get a little bit close. See, that wants to go out of focus if I get too much closer. All right, and we'll leave this area open a little bit, okay? So if you leave a little bit of an opening, you know, someone can go. Now, sometimes if you want, let's see if you want to give this kind of a composition that's like where you're kind of hiding from something, then you put more of this stuff in front of you. You create a barrier in front of the viewer and whatever that object is that you're kind of, you know, want to stay hidden from. But usually I go with kind of a heavier left and right bottom corner and open area in between somewhere, okay? I'm going to put some of these reeds going in front of her a touch, but so this right here, it's a little bit heavier. I went like here, another one right here, here, and then I go lighter like that, and I leave a little bit of an opening like that. So that's like for a compositional little kind of tool that you can do for, so when you're giving a scene to someone or someone's looking at your scene, they have an area in which to enter your scene through. So on her, I think the visual path, if you were to give this card to someone, they might just go straight to this character right down here, but I think they're going to come back in when they look at this and they're going to go this way, you know. I don't know, maybe they wouldn't look at that woman because she's kind of like blended in with that thing, but you see this motion right here? It's like that, and then you go like that, and you kind of circle back around. But, you know, that paper itself kind of makes for a kind of an exciting kind of surface like that. And then again, see that little, that shimmer down in here? Maybe I could have left even more, but see that shimmer right down in there? You see, oh, that's shimmering in that water area right there, which is good. I thought I went over it too much with that white ink, but you can see some of that shimmer in the grass and in that water section right there. There's a little bit of a window right there, so so that worked out pretty good just by chance. Okay, and I think that is it. I'm looking in here trying to decide if there's anything else that I wanted. I don't know. I can't think of anything else I would add to this. That sky to me looks like some of the holographics look like a nighttime sky to me. This one, to me, looks daytime, so I wouldn't put like crystals up here to represent stars. Although if you go like that, it does look like, kind of night like that. I don't know, I guess like that, it looks like night, huh? So, I don't know. It's like, here's a night, and here's it's early morning, it's going to noon. That's what's fun about these holographics like that. There's a lot of different kind of personalities in them, just depending on what lighting you have on them. Sometimes I put on my overhead lamp and light in here. Let's see if that changes. Oh, that just washed things out. Too much bright light on there like that. But I don't know, little things like this in the grassy areas might be kind of cool. Like if I had like a little pink little crystals or something like that, like really small ones, you can add them down here or put them in the water. That might be kind of interesting. I will mount this onto something, a little, probably a double mat or a double mount, whatnot. And I really am thinking about that quote stamp. Let me see if that quote stamp, that would fit right here. I'll take a look at it, and I would kind of frame it off. But from a thematic standpoint, this one touch of nature makes the whole world kin. I think that would, from a thematic standpoint, I think it would go really well with this scene. You know what I mean? Because it's like, these things are kind of making a connection. Like a, emotional or spiritual connection with the woman, the lady, and nature like that. So, yeah. I don't know. I'll figure it out. Okay, but anyways, let's see. Is there any questions or comments here? Glad you guys liked the addition of the deer there. Michael's used to carry it. They don't carry... How can they not carry a spray fixative? That is so insane. So they don't have the resource anymore. Not sure what's... You need to be like the places that have a really good art stores are like college towns, that have an art program or something like that, of course. But I don't know. Do you guys have like an online, good art supplier in Canada? Down here, there's several. But we can probably still get the spray fixatives in the, like a Michael's or Joann's and stuff like that. Any kind of place with a art section. I would guess. I haven't been in, one in a while looking for spray fixatives. But, yeah, check that out there, though, Linda. You should be able to get that somewhere. I don't know. Unless you've already looked and it's just not available. I can't imagine that a spray fixative would be hard to find. Or impossible to find. It's hard to find already for you, but man, that seems so crazy. It's such a, that can be a really essential tool for the people that work in those, in that different type of media like that. Hello, Linda D. Good to see you. Hello, Vicky. Thanks. Not magic though. Just some good old fashioned colored pencil. Glad you like that. Yeah, it's like little flowers, Star. It brings your green little areas to life. Let me see if I can show you those little flowers a little bit more. I don't know if you can see it in there. The flowers I don't have standing out too much, but it puts a little bit of a different hue into those greens like that. And in this case, it's kind of cool because there's all these purples and pinks in that area up there already. Let me do something right here too. Where's my... What, I'm doing these little tweaks on here. Where did my white pen go? I want that. Here's the 0.7 millimeter. But I'm looking for my 3 millimeter white pen. I don't know. It walked off. But yeah, bringing all these different types of colors down in here is be kind of cool. So here's a little bit more. Here's white that can represent kind of more highlights, I guess. So here's a little bit more texture. And there's, you know, there's white, there's little white wildflowers out there anyway. Let's go with some of that. I should have some white in here anyways, because I'm going to put a little bit of a white border around this whole thing, so having that same color within the piece would be important. I don't need to do too much. I could bring a little bit of highlights on her too if I want to. That'd be like something really subtle. But yeah. Oh, okay, you can see those little highlights a little bit better like that. But there it is, like so. That is that vinyl holographic printer paper, sticker paper. I really like this one. I don't know which one my favorite is. My favorite tends to be the one, whatever one I'm working with at the time. That's what it always seems. It's like, oh, I like that one. Then I'll use this other one. It's like, oh my God, I like that one, you know? But there might be, like, this one might have one of the highest, I don't know, kind of contrast from my initial kind of perception of it, of how it could look in the scene. I find it kind of mellow in a way. I mean, it isn't. It's fairly loud, but it's just not as loud as some of the other ones, you know, that I've used in the past. Like, you know, I don't know, this is stars like this. There's a little bit more contrast with this one right here. And this one right here, just, I don't know, it's like pastels or something like that. So, I don't know. When I looked at this one, I was thinking that, you know, I was mentioning this last week. It was like thinking that like the Matrix or something like that. But I don't know. I don't find it, you know, too kind of overpowering. You know what I mean? I mean, we've added all this other stuff and we've blocked out most of it, but you know, there's still a decent degree of it in there. And so I think it's, in comparison to some of the holographic cardstocks that we've used, it's like this one's like downright, you know, like tame, you know, to utilize in scenes too. So I don't know. Like I said, maybe it's the small kind of little element in there, which is that little circle. They're like little round circles. They're perfect little circles, and just the fact that it's, you know, the coloring of it is just so light and like pastel-y. But I don't know. You know, you can kind of imagine this on a piece of white paper too, or whatever. You know, I'd add in a little bit of tone in the background. I think that would look really cool too. But having that little extra element in there, and the fact that the background can kind of change a little bit from like night to day like that, you can probably do like a little 8-pointed star with a, you know, your paint pen like that. I bet you it would be almost invisible when you're looking at it like this. But then you tilt it like that and it would really turn it into like a nighttime type of scene with that, having that white little star up there. You can put little dots like that too. Let's do a couple of them. I won't do too many, but let's see. I'll just add, I'll edit these little stars over some of that little lighter foil, the lightest of these little circles. Let's see if it'll be kind of invisible. Like this. Okay, so you can't really see any of those white little dots. Let me see if we can see any of them, though. I need my bigger pen. Let's see. Okay, I can see them right here in front of me. I added like tiny, like super small little dots like that. I don't know if you can see that. There's too much glare coming out, but yeah, they kind of stand out like that. So you can kind of mask it over like that. Like, see some of these little patterns in here? I put my stars over those lightest of ones, like here and there. So you can't see it at all like that, but then if you tilt it like that. All right, too hard to see on the camera right here, but I don't know. It's a little experiment you can do too. All right, so yeah, glad you liked it, Crimson Rose. Do you have a name for this piece yet? No, I don't. What should we name this piece? something shimmery or whatnot. Glad you liked it, Cecile. Hello, Barbara. Good to see you. Watching you for quite a while. Thanks for checking out. It's time to stock up on Stampscapes. Drop me a note if you have any questions. If you don't have any Stampscapes, sometimes the sets are a good place to start off, you know, with a foundation set that have a lot of kind of universal elements in there. But drop me a note if you have any questions on that. But yeah, there is your vinyl holographic printable sticker paper, okay? Printable being the key word. And yeah. Oh yeah, actually the title of the piece that I put in the title of this one was like, I think I put like one touch of nature or something like that, which is in the quote stamp like that. But if anyone has a better name, go ahead and name it or put it in the comment section and the and when this gets posted like that. All right, but I like this as a, you know, this is a, I really like how that that vinyl works like that. Apparently I need more because I've already used up, I think, the 2 sheets that came in that multi-pack. There might be a pack of this where it's just only that pattern in there. You know, I'm not sure. So I'll need to take a look on Amazon and see if they just have that one pattern instead of the multi-pack of the holographic. They might. I'm not sure, though. A lot of times the packs of just one type of color, it's just the general holographic, like this one right here. You know, that, you know, the non-textured holographic is usually what I see in there. But I don't know, this one I could see using quite a bit. Just for any type of scene. The other ones, sometimes I might go a little bit more of a kind of a targeted theme, you know, just because they're so strong in terms of the patterns and textures and whatnot, you know, i.e. like this one right here, you know. But on this one right here, I think we can stamp just about anything, whatever we want, you know, from something very light to something very dark. Could even be a cave scene or something like that and have the walls of the cave kind of like icy little crystals and shimmery or something like that. Yeah. Let's see. All right, folks. Have a great rest of evening. For you, Linda D, have a great rest of the day ahead of you. Morning. I don't know if it's still morning for you. Is it the PM there now? But yeah. Okay, see, that's right here. Here's one of those little tweaks. I added that white down there, and I think it did get a touch more see-through. So if you want it to get a little bit, you know, more opaque, then you just observe it after it's dried and just add a little bit more to it like that. See that right there? You go a little bit from the bottom up, and it looks like the deer is standing in some of that mystical mist. Okay, but you see that some of those paint pen little dot touches up here in the leaves? That was that light green one. Where did it go? Right here. Okay, so that's fun. That's something that I've been doing a little bit more lately too, is putting those little lighter touches here and there within those darker kind of forms like that to give it a little bit more, yeah, I don't know, kind of shimmer and depth within that, you know, those spaces like that. So otherwise it tends to just blend in with the background, which I usually liked like that, but now sometimes I want it to kind of stand out a little bit more from the background. So paint pens like this. If you don't have paint pens, I don't know if the gel pens would be opaque enough, but you might want to try something like that, you know. That might be cool as well. 1420. Oh, yeah. Okay. The PM there. What is that? 1420 is 2. I have to think about that because I can't think about it in military. 220, right? All right. Thanks, everyone. Thanks for joining in on this Friday night live. Great to see everyone. And for those checking it out, if there's anyone else that, you just watch, thanks as well to all of you for checking out the Stampscapes live. And we'll see you again. I don't know, I might jump in again sometime over the weekend, I'm not sure. Depends how far I get with the new stamps and whatnot, or if I need to take a break and get some stamping in. I don't know, this one is so much fun, and I do have a really small piece here that I might want to do something on, I'm not sure. Anyway, thanks as always, and hope to see you all in the next live stream sometime. Good night, everyone.